Well, our end goal for MS PAS is to do two things. Number one, we want to test technology. We want a technology solution to collecting standardized quantitative data of different types, but that's meaningful to the patient. So that's number one. So once we, and I'll give you an example of this, once we develop a technology and validate it in MS PAS, we can then more broadly distribute it. So it's like a laboratory to develop the technology that's needed much beyond these 10 centers. The second thing we're doing with MS PAS is we're generating insights. So from the 14,000 patients, as we follow these patients over time, the value of this is just going to grow exponentially, and so we are learning some very important things. So I can give you an example of a technology we've been able to distribute, and I can give you an example of a learning that we've had, which I think is really going to change the field. So one of the things that we have included in the assessment it's on the iPad, it's a device called the Multiple Sclerosis Performance Test, MSPT. One of the tests is a cognitive test, and it is the patient matches numbers to symbols across the top, and they have to match as many numbers to the proper symbol in 120 seconds. And that particular test, which is only a 2-minute test, gives a number which is very reflective of the patient's cognitive abilities, and that goes down in MS in some patients. So we have taken that test, called the Processing Speed Test, and we've created a freestanding app that can sit on the App Store and be downloaded by doctors to an iPad in their own office. We call that the Cog Eval. And the Cog Eval was released in English for English-speaking countries in April, and at this meeting it's being released for all major languages, including Japanese. And this is freely available to any neurologist who's treating patients with MS, and it'll make assessment of cognition routine and simple with a 120-second test the patient can do herself in the office. So we think this is going to change everything because we really have not focused on cognition. Now, the finding I mentioned, which we're presenting from MS PAS, showed that almost 20% of patients in MS PAS studied over a period of over a year had a decrease in their cognitive functioning, which previously would be unrecognized. So we think that this is something that needs to be monitored, because if you don't monitor it and measure it, you can't treat it. So we're finding insights from the MS PAS cohort. We're developing the technology within MS PAS and validating it there, and then we're spreading it out as far as possible so that we can get back to what I talked about in the first place, which is to create standardized, standardized, high quality, meaningful data so that we can move to personalized medicine.